Hello, fellow pen lovers and stationery enthusiasts. It's Christy here, Snarky Wordsworth over on Instagram and Reddit. And today I am going to be swatching my San Francisco Pen Show ink bottle purchases. I've got 11 inks to go, so it's not going to be quite as elaborate as usual, but I'm going to try and fit them all onto this 2-page spread. Fingers crossed. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I'm going to kick things off with this Enigma exclusive ink. I believe it was from the 2023 SF pen show, and this is from Vinta. It is, and I'm going to butcher this, I know it, Palaisipan? Palaisipan? I think the syllable is on the C, but I'm not 100% sure. What I do know is that it is an absolutely gorgeous sort of aqua or light teal with some really, really beautiful shading. The gentleman at Enigma had the color out so that we could see it, and that absolutely sold me on it. So yeah, I'm very excited to see this in my swatch book. Okay, so it looks like Vinta has done it again. This Palaisipan is stunning. I don't know how Vinta does it, but they always seem to know just how much shimmer to put in ink to make it still flow beautifully. This is not at all dry. Of course, I'm just using a dip pen right now, and I need to test it out in an actual fountain pen nib, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be one that clogs very much, and that is in keeping with, in my experience, most of Vinta's shimmer inks. They're very, very well formulated. This has that beautiful, vibrant, bright aqua, and then it's got some really, really lovely blue shimmer to it. I am absolutely loving this ink, and I'm very, very excited. I know exactly what pen I want to put it in, so here's to looking forward to that. All right, next up is an ink from a company that is totally new to me. That is Kiwi Inks. Maria Russo speaks very, very highly of them, so I decided, yeah, I've got to give them a try. And when I saw the name, I couldn't resist. This is Nebula Space Kitty. This is a teal with shimmer in it, and I just kind of fell in love with it when I saw it at the show in their little swatch book. Plus, again, that name, how was I supposed to resist? So let's give this a swatch. As you can see, phenomenal, phenomenal color. I, one, am super impressed. When I opened the bottle of Kiwi Inks, this thing is filled to the brim. So they give you absolutely everything they can fit in that bottle. And this felt so nice to write with. I'm always a little bit wary when I'm just starting a new company with shimmer because, like, it's hard to get a good formula, but this was wonderful to write with. It's got some crazy good sheen going on, and I'm not even usually a sheen person, but it didn't feel dry or sticky the way that some sheening inks can. And then you've got this gorgeous kind of blue shimmer in there. I am definitely excited to try this one out. Like I said, great formulation, tons and tons of product in that bottle. Absolutely worth it, I think. Excited to use it. All right, next up is a Kobe ink called Sorakuen Tea Green. I've already inked up a pen with this, and I am really, really enjoying writing with it, but that's no surprise. Kobe inks generally are really, really wonderful in my experience, so let's get to swatching. First things first, it's not even totally dry, but look at all of that shading. I absolutely love this ink. I'm so happy to have this in my collection. I love earthy, dark greens to begin with, but a lot of times with those darker shades, you don't necessarily get the amount of shading that you can see here. Again, not even totally dry yet. So high expectations for this one. Very excited to continue to use it. Already have it in one of my new nibs and definitely using it all the time. Okay, next up is another Wearingeul ink. I absolutely adore Wearingeul inks. I'm a huge fan of all of their different lines. I collect them whenever I can, so when I saw that Dromgools was doing that 4 for 3 sale, I had to pick something up. This one is the Autumn Night After 1,000 Years. It is a deeper green with gold shimmer. Excellent combination. Looking forward to seeing this in a swatch. Okay, so this one is a little bit unexpected. I love this shade. So it's definitely olive leaning with a whole lot of gray going on. And you guys know how much I love those gray greens. And at first, when it first went down super wet, I didn't see the shimmer at all. Like, I seriously was like, oh, this is odd for Wearingeul. I can't see any of the sparkle. But when it dries down, it's a little bit subtle, but it is 100% there. And when we get everything finished off and I am able to do the close-ups, you'll 100% see, like, and it's in throughout the writing as well, that gold shimmer is just barely there, but definitely highlights that olive tone. I really like this. It's not super in your face. It's one of those inks that I could definitely even see using at work. So it's one of those where, oh, is there something going on there? It's not just regular ink. And I like that, especially for situations where maybe super duper sparkle is not everything it's cracked up to be, like in a work situation. So yeah, definitely interesting, and I'm wondering how this would work in a regular nib. All right, time for another green from Wearingeul. This is from the Peter and Wendy series. This is Tock Croc. It is another green, and I am very excited. I actually only vaguely remembered this shade from a couple of ink swatch videos I'd watched, but I remember having initially a really good response to what I saw on screen, so hopefully in real life it lives up to the expectation. Ooh, so this is really quite lovely. It actually is a very jewelly emerald toned green, which I adore. It kind of reminds me, and I know that this ink is way outside the price range, but it reminds me of the emerald from Mont Blanc. Like, I love there's this hint of blue just popping through the green that makes it really just draw your eye. So I think this is going to be one of those inks that I use, especially as the summer wanes down. I very much like it on first impression. Excited to put it into a regular nib. Okay, one more ink for this page, if I can squeeze it in. It is another Wearingeul ink. This one is one I've had on my list for ages. It is a Star Spattered Hill, gold on gold. Here we go. Very excited. Holy smokes, is this color absolutely gorgeous. I am a little bit in love. Bright, vibrant, easy to read yellow-orange, with heavy leanings toward the yellow, but still, there's no difficulty in reading this, and I can tell even in a fine nib, I would still be able to legibly write and not have any kind of problems whatsoever. There's a lot of shimmer in this ink, but the formulation is such that it works really, really well. Really good flow. When I opened the bottle, there was enough shimmer in it that you could kind of see it glistening at the top of the ink, and I was a little bit anxious, but it just feels really, really comfortable in the Sailor dip pen nib, so I'm hoping that a regular nib will do just as well. Yeah, like I said, it is lovely. It's still a little bit wet, but there is a lot of shimmer, like just shifting the page a tiny bit and it sparkles like crazy. So this is one I could see myself using a lot at the holidays, but also just during summer, so really pretty much all the time. And I'm sure you'll see it in a currently inked sometime very soon. All right, next up from Kyo no Oto is Yamabukiiro. This is sort of a golden light brown. I have already got this in one of my new nibs, and it's really going very well for me right now. Looking forward to seeing what it is like in a swatch. If you'd have told me a couple years ago that I would be super duper into yellow and yellowy brown inks, I would have told you you were crazy, but man, I just love something about this color family. Super solid flow, really, really smooth, and very legible. I really, really like this. It's subtle, but still one of those colors that I think packs a lot of punch when you want to do that, say like in a journal entry or something like that. I just really, really like this. Right now I have it in a cursive smooth italic and it's writing really beautifully. I'm curious if it would write equally well in, say, an extra fine or a needlepoint, but like I said, the formulation feels really good so far in the two nibs that I've tried it in, so here's hoping. All right, first off, how adorable is this Bungubox bottle? I mean, this is so stinking cute. I can't even. So at the Bungubox table, they had some very, very nicely labeled ink swatching sheets so you could see what you were actually purchasing. And this color caught my eye immediately. You can see it's kind of beigey, peachy brown, not too dark, and hopefully this will make really, really beautiful swatches in writing. So interesting, not quite what I was expecting, but still a really, really beautiful shade of brown. In the swatch, you saw a bit more shading that we're getting here, a few more highlights, I think, rather than the lows. And the swatch, I may have just put too much ink down. That's probably just on me. But in the writing sample, you can see some shading going on, but not an enormous amount. Still, I do really like the color. I'm curious to see what it would be like in a finer nib to see if there would be much shading there. So we shall see in the future. Okay, next up is another company I've never used before, Anderillium inks. I've heard really fantastic things about them, and I have loved all the colors I've seen. This one is Tolype Moth Warm. It's from their Lepidoptera line. They had so many bright, vibrant colors, but of course I gravitate towards the warm browns. And this one, look, you can even see him. He's so cute. I immediately latched onto this color the second that I looked at the swatches that they had available. So it is now mine and I get to swatch it on my own. Oh, this one is just such a pretty warm brown. You can see those sort of slight red tones underneath that are just popping through. I really like this color. They also had like a cuttlefish brown that was a little bit cooler and darker, I want to say, that also really, really caught my eye, but this is the one I went with and I'm very glad that I did. Felt quite smooth in the sailor nib. I am seeing quite a bit of shading here, and I think it would probably do well even in a much finer nib, but again, we'll have to see. But yeah, this is beautiful, and I'm excited because we're going into fall, and you know how I'm like brown crazy when it comes to fall colors. But yeah, Anderillium, Tolype, Moth Warm definitely gets a thumbs up as far as the swatch situation goes. I didn't say so with the Sorakuen green tea, but how cute are the Kobe ink bottles? Whenever I see them, I just think they're so cute and short and squat. They're just adorable. Anyway, this one is Mikage Gray. It is a lovely shade of gray that I have been kind of coveting for quite some time. I had a hard time between this and there's a Stone Kaigen Gray, I think, as well, that I was just like waffling between, but went with this one in the end, and I think this is going to be a winner for me. Okay, this is beautiful. So I was definitely expecting a cooler gray tone, but this has some purple notes to it. It's just lovely, like a much cooler kind of grape. And look at all of the shading. Again, not quite dry at all, but you can see shade already. This is going to be a go-to ink for me, especially when I want something like a little bit deeper, because it is definitely like a darker gray. I have this currently inked up in a needlepoint, and you know, it's a needlepoint. You're not really going to see a whole lot of shade because the line is so fine, but you absolutely can see this very clearly, even though it's gray and not black. Love it. The way that it went on the page felt very smooth. Curious as to see how it would do in all the different size nibs, but I don't think here there's going to be any problem. Like I said, I've got it in a needlepoint right now, super legible. But yeah, I think this is really gorgeous, and I'm so excited that this is now a part of my collection. All right, my final ink of today is another Wearingeul. This is Persephone, and I think this is going to be a winner. I have wanted this for quite some time. It just happened that it came out around the same time as a lot of other purple shimmer inks, so I wasn't really sure which direction I wanted to go in, cooler, warmer, pinker shimmer, darker shimmer, gold shimmer, and I never got any of them. So rather than making a decision, but with that Dromgool sale on Sunday, I mean, the decision was pretty much already made for me. This was the one I made a beeline for. As soon as I saw the sale and I saw that they had this in, I knew I was in for it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this swatched. Okay, so this is a fascinating color. I really like it. So at the base, you've got kind of a cool purple, but because your shimmer is such a vibrant pink, almost a fuchsia really, it warms everything back up. So you have that juxtaposition of the warm with the cool, and it makes for really, really interesting letters. Maybe a touch dry. It could have been just because I got like a poor dip. That happens. I am terrible with dip pens. You guys know that already, but not in any way difficult to write with. Just a heads up. Like I said, though, you would need to try it in a different nib, and I will be 100% using this in a pen very, very soon. I actually think I might ink up a pen right now. But yeah, once it dries down, you'll be able to see it a little bit better when I do the close-up especially. But that fuchsia shimmer, that is crazy, and it's really beautiful. I would not, that I had pause when I'd heard that it's a cool ink with like a warm shimmer to it, but it works. It works really, really well. And I'm absolutely loving this. So we'll see once we swap to a regular nib how much changes about it, but I think this is definitely one that will get regular rotation with my pens. All right, so everything has had the chance to dry down for the most part, so we can go ahead and get some pretty good ideas of what they'll look like in regular usage. So here's that Vinta Palaisipan. I am still not over how beautiful this ink is with that gorgeous, gorgeous blue shimmer on top of that aqua. It is really a stunner. And I don't actually have an ink quite like this in my collection, so always excited to find something new for myself. But yeah, I am so glad that they had that large sample page out, because I don't know that I would have picked it up otherwise. And even that sample did not show off the shimmer as well as it comes through here. So here's hoping when I put it in a regular nib, it will do just the same. But my experience with Vinta is it's a solid company that knows what they're doing as far as formulations go. Right below that, whoa, look at that. That is crazy. Is Kiwi Ink's Nebula Space Kitty. Not only is it a wicked cool name, but it is a fantastically interesting ink. So we've got loads and loads of shade going on. We've got some sheen, and I don't even mind it because it wrote really well, did not have that almost sticky feeling I feel a lot of sheener inks have. And then it's got this gorgeous, gorgeous blue shimmer, and you can see it all the way through. It's even kind of coming through on screen, which is not always the case for me. I like this a lot. It also makes me want to buy a whole lot more Kiwi inks, so expect some of that in the future. But yeah, this is great. Super cool shade. Now below that is Kobe Ink's Sorakuen Green Tea. Love this color. I'm already using it in a pen and am absolutely adoring it. Writes really well. Loads of shade in a dark green ink, which is chef's kiss. Fantastic. Look at that. Look at that. That's just awesome. Anyway, definitely loving this one. Right below that is the Wearingeul Autumn Night After 1,000 Years. Like I said, subtle shimmer. You can really see it there in the swatch, but you can definitely see it in the text as well. I love this sort of gray olive, beautiful color base with just a little bit of shimmer. So it makes it work friendly, or at least my work friendly, you know. And I like it a lot. Like I said, I am a huge olive gray green fan, so this was definitely already going in my like it list. And it writes quite well. It's not dry. It did not have any like feed feeling issues, so it seems like a win to me. Right below that is Wearingeul's TikTok Croc. I love how vibrant and emerald this color is. It just kind of glows, which I don't have a ton of super jewel toned inks, so that's always a plus to add something interesting. Some decent shading going on. Definitely a color I'll be exploring more in the future. And here's my A Star Spattered Hill from Wearingeul. This is a true winner. Man, I am so impressed with how well this wrote and how much shimmer is in that bottle. There was so much shimmer that it almost reminded me a little bit of like my first initial view of Lakambini, which is the only Vinta ink that I've ever had trouble with. But this is not the same thing. No issues, does not feel dry, does not feel like it's going to clog any feed. And God, that shimmer is nuts, and it's throughout the whole set of lettering, and just beautiful, beautiful color as a base and gorgeous use of the shimmer. Definitely more subdued, Kyo no Oto's Yamabukiiro. This is a lovely, legible, subdued yellow-brown. You've got a lot of shading going on. It sort of waffles between almost a light brown and a golden yellow, and works really, really well. I definitely think this is a nice, reliable shade. Probably work really well for fall. Below that is my Bungubox Nostalgia. Definitely darker than I was expecting, but still very, very pretty. A good amount of shade, not anything crazy. I'm curious as to how this is going to work in a finer nib, but so far, love the color. And my first experience with Anderillium inks. Unfortunately, the warmth isn't coming through quite as well as I would hope. There's more red in real life than is showing up on screen, but this is such a pretty shade of brown, like crazy pretty shade of brown. Definitely will be checking out more of their inks. Loved their colors at their table, and definitely am very happy with my first purchase from them. Below that is Kobe Inks Mikage Gray. This is a lovely shade of gray if you like those darker, more cool-toned purpley grays. So pretty. Man, I definitely am excited to pop this into one of my regular nibs. I have it in a needlepoint right now. Still totally legible even though it's a needlepoint. You can even see some shading even though it's such a deep color. I love this. And below that, whoa, yeah, you can really see it now that it's dried down. Wearingeul's Persephone, cool based purple with a beautiful warm fuchsia shimmer. Really interesting mix. Great distribution of the shimmer throughout. This is 100% going in one of my pens right away. Very, very happy with it. So these were all my ink bottle purchases from the San Francisco Pen Show, and I've got to say I am very, very happy. No buyer's remorse here. I love that it's introduced me to a few new companies. This Nebula Space Kitty is wild. I am so excited to ink this up with ink this up in one of my pens, just like so crazy and cool. And then very happy that Persephone is as beautiful as I had hoped it would be. But yeah, if you happen to have any questions about any of these shades, please pop those down in the comments below. Obviously, I do not have a huge amount of experience with any of these so far, but I will answer what I can. And if there's something I can't, I'll try and find one of my friends who maybe does have a bottle and they can answer better. Or if you happen to have any experience with any of these inks and you want to share your own comments, pop those below. Like if you don't think that Vinta's Palaisipan is quite as cool as I do, happy to hear about it. That's part of the fun of this hobby, is sort of going back and forth and hearing what shades really resonate with different people. You know, it's all pretty subjective, like what colors are beautiful and what colors aren't. But yeah, I am super duper happy. If this video was in any way helpful, entertaining, interesting, useful, whatever, please do consider giving me a thumbs up or potentially even subscribing to the channel. As always, thank you so, so much for joining me. If you have made it to the end of this video, you are everything that is awesome. And once again, thank you for watching, and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye-bye.